Hey everybody, this is Ian O'Byrne. I'm the department editor for multiliteracies for the Journal of Adolescent and Adult Literacy. This interview is basically a chance to sit down with an expert in the field and talk more about the column. The latest column was all on open and open learning, and I'm honored to have Don Wettrick right now. Don, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Don Wettrick. I'm a high school. I'm a teacher, but my title is the Innovations Director, and I also, believe it or not, I'm kind of a bit of in the media specialist role. I'll get to more of that later, and I also kind of coach as well here at the high school.
Very cool. Thank you for joining us. We want to take a look at somebody that's really doing what we try to describe in the column. So to start us off, how do you define open, and what are the real effects on teaching and learning?
I think the term I'm using a lot is transparency. It's funny that even the room I'm in right now, you can probably see in the background, it's a lot of windows, and that's both metaphorical and literal, is because we want to showcase everything we do. Not just because we're braggarts, but because we think what we're doing is correct. And even when we make a lot of mistakes, it's correct. Because we'll get feedback from people telling us, you're doing it wrong, or have you thought of this? And that's great. I live for criticism that's constructive. I mean, if you want to tell me that I look funny or I shouldn't wear skinny jeans, that's great. But as long as it's constructive, then it's benefiting my students and it's benefiting myself. And it's also growing their own digital brand. In the last year or so, our students have had the opportunity to work with people that are far more intelligent than I am. And if it's my job as their teacher to instruct them, I'm looking for the best sources. So, the open model, the transparent model is be out there. Get sources other than yourself. Embrace what's out there. Connect with people. Collaboration is not just a buzzword; it's a way of life, and I think that only good things can come out of it. I have yet to have an instance where being transparent hasn't paid off tenfold. I literally can't think of a single bad incident that was worth talking about. I mean, I may have had a couple people say, I don't like what you're doing. Well, great. Tell me something constructive. Well, they didn't really have anything to say. So I think it's something that everybody should embrace.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that we all know that there's a lot of power in teaching and learning, and sometimes we like to close off our classroom walls and not have that transparency. But having criticism is a good thing. You just have to be able to deal with it. So I mean, as an educator that has this transparency, what in your classroom, what does an average day look like? Like, what's happening if we were in your room?
It at first might look chaotic until you realize that it's everybody's productive. The first 5 to 6 weeks, we do things as a class. We focus on innovation. We look at sources of inspiration. We look at TED Talks. We go pour through Fast Company magazine kind of things, doing a book study on Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. A lot of things that, and sometimes are entrepreneurial. But past that 6 weeks, then I'm a project manager. Shameless plug time. I wrote a book. It was released about 6 weeks ago, and I talk about the 4 new roles of an innovative educator. Number 1 is project manager. Number 2 is public relations consultant, because it's my job to get their stuff out there so other people can recognize their work. I don't just want their project to be an audience of one. Number 3 is a travel agent, because anytime we can get out of this room, whether it be another classroom or another state, it's always beneficial. Number 4, venture capitalist. These things aren't cheap, and if I can raise money, then all the better. So with these 4 roles in mind, if you walk into my room, a lot of my students usually work in teams of 2 or 3. I don't ever usually have a team of 4 because there's dead weight there. But they're all working on their own things. And today is a classic example. 2 of my students were working on an audio podcast. We were just working on our YouTube weekly update. We have a YouTube channel. Another couple of my students were collaborating with their outside expert. Another one is going to be meeting with a patent lawyer here soon. So it's a hub of activity where we all kind of pitch in, and I don't know, it looks chaotic. Which, however, is back to the travel agent thing. We had the opportunity to go out and present at Stanford University. There's a couple of professors out there that are really leading the charge in digital learning. Dr. Howard Reingold, chief among them, and Tina Seelig at the D School. And in addition to going out to Stanford, we got to be guests of Facebook and Twitter and Invoice2Go, which is a startup. We really love that, and Boxer. And it was great because we were looking at work environments there. I actually recently blogged about it last week, and my students were noting how their work environments, ours, were actually really vice versa. That the people at Facebook you don't have to stay in their office. You can go where you want, pick up a snack whenever you want, but they want you to cross-pollinate with other people. They don't want the coders just to hang out with the coders. So it's kind of this hub of activity. If you were to take somebody in a cubicle of the 90s and show them Facebook, the average person would say, you can't get anything done here. But the exact opposite is true. They have a comfortable working environment. They want to be there. They're constantly buzzing with ideas because they get to talk to one another. And I designed this workspace to be just that. You can go in and you can see what we're doing. You can walk past the room and see what's going on. You can share your information and all your work on YouTube or your own podcast. And you can collaborate with not just those people in this room, but people from all over the world.
That's very cool. It's it's great providing your students with those challenges and those opportunities to check out other people. Adding one other question into the mix, going back to your book and the 4 roles, is there, obviously you have a studio set up, you have all the equipment, you have a content area that allows you to do that. Do you see that sort of that learning in those roles and those activities and the work that the students are doing, being able to use that in other content areas? Being able to do it in math or in science or in higher ed. Is there a limit to where we can do this?
No, that's the whole point. All of our projects are based on the fact that it's a desire that they want to get better at, or they see a need. The wealthiest people in the world are people that are solving small problems. And case in point, I had a student that wanted to see if we could bring solar power to the school. Well, in their feasibility study, he was converting kilowatt hours and wattage and all sorts of. There's a bunch of math. I'm not a math person, but we were doing math. We were covering math standards in his project. It has cross-pollination written all over it. Some of my kids are entrepreneurial. We can't have enough entrepreneurial classes in the United States. We do that here. But the best thing is, instead of listening to me, they're working with true entrepreneurs. I mean, people that have done it. And that's another reason why we liked going out to Palo Alto. We were talking with people that, if I had a dime for every time I heard people out there say, where were you 10 years ago? Why couldn't I have a class like this? I would have been able to, do X, Y, and Z. Well, my students are astutely aware that this is a privilege, this is a great class to get things done. And they're using a lot of their knowledge from other sources, and they're bringing it here. And then because they're working with outside experts, they not only get to demonstrate that knowledge to the outside experts, they get to have an audience, and then success falls on them. I also think it's a way to teach digital citizenship. We talk about this all the time in education, and really, the average person isn't talking about teaching digital citizenship. It's a list of things that you shouldn't do. Well, guess what? They already know what they shouldn't do. Brett Favre taught us a powerful rule. We know where that goes. So how about I showcase them what you should do? What happens if you take Twitter seriously? What happens if people like Daniel Pink get back with you? What happens if the vice president of Microsoft gets back with you? The guy that started ExactTarget wants to connect. These kind of things happen for us, and they happen for a reason. It's because we take ourselves seriously on social media. You will never catch my students, and I promise this, you will never catch my students making an inappropriate tweet because they know what's on the line. They want to connect with the Scott Dorseys of the world who started Exact Target. They want to, 3 days ago, two of my students who are designing a product, they reached out to the guy, to a professor that leads up the entrepreneurial department at Notre Dame University. He got back with them within 20 minutes and said, you know what, you need to get up here and showcase what you're doing to my students. My students got to teach at Notre Dame the other day. You know, my other group of students, we got to teach at Stanford. My students got to teach at Stanford. And why does this happen? From being open, from being transparent, from putting our stuff on Facebook, from on Twitter, and having a YouTube channel. All these things only create great opportunities.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's that entrepreneurial spirit. It's also, you know, when I first started teaching, if we could like boil down our jobs to the most, you know, the most basic elements, you're teaching your students how to exist safely in society. Well, now we have this whole digital component, you know, and we never consider, you know, what can I do as the more knowledgeable other or the guide to show my students how you should be safe online. So, I mean, what do you do when you're outside of work and outside of your teacher role? What does an average day look like for you in your personal learning network? How do you socialize and interact and exist online?
I guess the first answer and the most important answer is I'm a father of 3, and in any moment I have with them is sacred. Past that, and even I got to say, even with my own children, I'm letting them. My oldest is 13. So when people say, well, you talk about social media, is your own children on social media? My 2 youngest are not. My 13-year-old is, and it's been a slow progression because I live this stuff. My big thing, I have a podcast, and I always sign off everything with opportunities are everywhere. I think my most important job I can do is allow my students to think like an innovator, and an innovator looks for solutions. They look to solve problems. They look for opportunities. So a lot of times I'm with my children, and they know if you ever are feeling down, the quickest way to feel great about yourself is to help other people, to serve. So I'm not trying to sound like we're Ward and June Cleaver of the Wettrick's house, but we spend time looking to help people. Whether it's one of our favorite things to do is every now and then there's a nursing home close to us. We'll take candy there to the non-diabetic people. Not actually, no, don't give candy to that guy. But you know, we'll pass out Christmas candy or Easter candy, or there's times we'll find opportunities to volunteer. Am I doing that to somehow brag or showcase my kids online? No, a lot of times I keep that stuff private. But it's setting that tone of success will find you if you want to find the opportunities, and there's nothing wrong in wanting to serve people. We don't, and I'm not trying to sound like we're all arrogant against TV. We don't really watch TV. We don't have time. We're doing fun things as a family and looking for great opportunities to serve. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not like an everyday thing, but it's weekly.
Well, that's the thing is you have to have balance. Those of us that are in technology a lot, it's hard to have that balance. You're always, the other night I'm hanging out with my son. We're chilling. We're having pizza, and I'm like, I've got to go on from 8 to 9 to do a podcast. I got to go on for a Twitter chat. Right. And it's hard to have that balance, and you don't want. One of my fears is that this becomes the mediator between you and your kid. Yeah. It's always, your child looks at you, and this is how mommy and daddy are always, interacting, and you don't want that. So, I mean, in having that balance, either in school with your students or out of school in your own personal life, what are some of the challenges and some of the opportunities? Like, how do you protect yourself and your students in this open learning environment?
Is this going to be edited down?
You can say whatever you need to say.
Well, no, I'm about ready to run out of battery. I'm gonna grab my charger. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let me. I guess I'll start off by answering. I guess your basic question is, do I have a fear of being this transparent? And the answer is no. Um, I wrote about this in my book in the sense that when I get parents that tell me that the internet is a dangerous tool, and I said, yeah, but the car is a lot more dangerous. Well, people can stalk my child and abduct them. And I hate to be the contrarian, but then I usually bring up the statistics of abducted children. It almost doesn't happen anymore. And if it does, it's almost always the parent. And of course, there's going to be some danger in anything you do. Going to school today is a potential danger. That's why I think it's so important that we teach it. You don't 9-year-old the keys and say good luck. I think being transparent and demonstrating how you do it is a great tool, because these people that say, well, bad things can happen, is your child already not on social media? Well, yeah. So if we work on it in school and we start show them the possibilities, do you not think that this is an opportunity to showcase how to do it better? And then that's when I usually get people go, you know what, you're right. And I'm not trying to go along with the two. I'm saying everybody is doing it, and let's do it right. And of course, I still get a couple people like, hey, I don't want you to do a YouTube update with my child on it. That's fine. No one's forcing them to. I don't deduct their grade because of it. But again, back to what I was saying earlier, only good things have come out of it. And I expect great other opportunities to fall our way, because the world wants to hear great educational stories. And I think it's also a big bone I have to pick with other educators. When people throw their hands up and say, the media this, the media that, the media wants to cover good stories. Case in point, last night, if you want to provide a link, the CBS affiliate here in Indianapolis did a story on us last night, and they want to come out again because they think that what we're doing needs to be shared. And they're right, because it's awesome. And why not share it with other people? So, when people say, oh, the media doesn't cover anything but bad stuff, pick up the phone. Let them know. Now, to the teacher that just wants to shut his or her door, whenever I hear somebody say, well, back when I was a teacher, I used to like it, you'd shut your door and mind your own business. Were you good? Were you doing the right thing? Why would you want the door shut? If you hear a great song, do you turn it down? If you eat at a new restaurant, do you not tell anybody about it? Do you shut the door or not? No. When you're doing things that are great, you want everybody to know. I want everybody to know what we're doing. And to the people that just want to secretly do things, it goes back to the most valuable lesson my dad taught me. I was in college. My mom and dad paid for every cent of my education. I worked 3 years not in education because I told myself I wasn't going to do what everybody else in my family did. And of course, I wanted to go back, and I was like, daggone it, I want to go to college and be a teacher. And I told my dad this, and I wasn't asking for money. I was going to pay for it myself. But I was like, Dad, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to be a teacher. Took a deep breath, and he thought, and he says, Don, I don't care if you teach for the next 20 years. Please just don't teach 1 year 20 times. It's always stuck with me. At the time, it didn't mean much to me until I started seeing what he meant. But now that guy or lady that always did the same thing year after year after year, of course they don't want to be transparent. They're not effective. And if they are effective, because sometimes they can be, and if they are effective, don't you want to share your magic? don't you think other teachers will benefit from your awesomeness? The answer is yes. Live out loud. Be as transparent as you can.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there's, and especially now with all the tools and the technology and the access we have, a lot of people don't understand online. If you're open in these personal learning networks, there's other people that want to connect. You hop on a hashtag, you reach out, people want to connect. There's a lot of serendipitous learning that's happening out there. People want to connect. They want to learn together. They want to collaborate. They want to empower others. They feel that joy. So Don, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the time talking to you. I'd be stoked to come out and see your studio. I want to build a studio like that at my school. You want to have the last word? Tell us more about your book.
Book is Pure Genius, taking 20% time to the next level. I like the Genius Hour movement. I like 20% time movement, but I don't like it when people think that innovation can be pared down to 10 minutes on a Friday. So I was pretty passionate about the book. We have weekly updates on YouTube. If I don't know the exact URL, I should, but if you go to YouTube and type in Noblesville and innovation, you'll find us. And we also have a student blog site that you can reach their individual blogs. They're doing great work. I highly recommend that you check it out.
Very cool. I'll put all these links in with the blog post. And once again, this is a short interview to talk about the column. We urge viewers out there to get online, to connect. Send us out your tweets, blog about this. Send Don questions. Send the other panelists questions. Send out your own video updates. But get online, connect, and be open with others, and engage.
Yeah, and if you and when you see these links, you'll start seeing my student stuff. If you don't, a lot of teachers are claiming that they're doing great stuff, and I love it that they are. I also like to see the student work. You want to see my student work? Email them. They'll get back with you really quick. They're awesome. They inspire me. They're getting it done.
That's the best part, is putting the focus on the students and their work and letting them identify who they are.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, everybody.